Hey, Sassy Stuff. I'm Emma here with Georgia, and we're going to talk about the Ohio State and Oregon game. Now, these two teams are meeting in the Rose Bowl. Just 2 weeks ago, Ohio State found itself under a cloud of doubt. People were really questioning them because of that Michigan loss. They questioned their coach's future, even their chances to win these playoffs and make it to the national championship and even win the national championship at the end of the day. But after that statement win against Tennessee, the Buckeyes has really silenced the skeptics, and they are now marching into this game with a lot of momentum on their side. Now, they will be playing the Oregon Ducks. They are undefeated this season, led by Heisman finalist Dylan Gabriel. They're ready to prove that they're more than just regular season champions. Now, these two teams have met before, and Oregon did come out on top, but the story might be different this time. So, what are you thinking about this game?
You know, if Ohio State plays like they played against Tennessee, I think that it's going to be really difficult for Oregon to beat them. There are a lot of what ifs about that first game. What if this call went a different way? What if Will Howard didn't sit his butt down when he shouldn't have? So I don't see Ohio State changing their game plan. Their game plan against Michigan was atrocious, and then they came out and switched it up and, they started using the players that they needed to use. And I think if it's going to be hard for Oregon to beat them. Again, it's hard to win a game twice unless you're Georgia beating Texas.
And
So,
even that
you
game
know,
was close.
yes. So I mean, what, the first game was 32-31. Like, it's going to be a really close game again. And I think it's going to be hard for Oregon to pull it off, but I think they're going to.
Yeah, Oregon narrowly defeated Ohio State in week 7. It was just by 1 point, and turnovers and special team miscues really hurt Ohio State. They did have that season low performance against Michigan. Nick Saban even said Ohio State might need to go to therapy because of their Michigan problem, but they had such a dominant performance against Tennessee. We said in that Michigan game that they needed to utilize those NFL wide receivers, and they did. This team is led by QB Will Howard. He dominated Tennessee with 311 passing yards and 3 touchdowns. They had an efficient rushing game, averaging nearly 6 yards per carry in that first meeting versus Oregon. So, this is a team that I think coming off that momentum against Tennessee can really show up in this game. Their defense is considered one of the best in the CFP. They are top ranked in EPA per play allowed. They have an elite secondary, limiting opponent success in the passing game. They've made adjustments since October's loss, and they will have the ability to exploit Oregon's run defense. So this Ohio State team, I think, is ready to play, and they're more prepared this time. I know Michigan, I think, kind of startled them a little bit, but this is a very, very good football team. So I'm excited to see how they show up in this game. Oregon obviously beat them. They also beat Penn State in the Big Ten championship, but that wasn't by a super large margin as well, which I did think the margin in that game would be a little bit bigger. They are led by QB Dylan Gabriel, who was that Heisman finalist. They averaged over 10 yards per dropback against Ohio State in October. They are very fast. They have versatility to challenge opposing defenses, but they are going up against the best defense. Their defense is strong, but overall, they are weak in the run defense. So, this is going to be an interesting game. This is my game that I'm most excited for in this next round of the playoffs. So, who do you think would come out on top in this matchup?
So I think my biggest worry is Ohio State's offense. I know that they performed really well against Tennessee. I don't know who that Tennessee team was because I've never seen that play before. But Ohio State's offensive line has problems. They've had so many injuries. They've had to change up the O line multiple times. Now they have players in the transfer portal and they have no depth on that line, and they're going to have to give Will Howard time to throw the ball to Jeremiah Smith. And if the O line can't hold up, it's going to be an issue. And also, a player that didn't play last time for Oregon is playing this time, Jordan Birch, and he has 8 sacks for the season. And so, if Ohio State offensive line cannot give Will Howard time to throw the ball, they're not going to get anywhere. So I personally am going to go with Oregon. Do I think Ohio State has a chance to win this game? Obviously. Like, I can see this game going either way. And honestly, I don't have really any skin in the game. But I will be cheering for Oregon. Even though this is an SEC channel, like, this is interesting in the Big Ten, Oregon coming in. And I think that Oregon's going to be, one of the big dogs in the Big Ten now. And that's great for them. So I hope they can pull it off and beat the Buckeyes and send their butts home.
They have a pretty easy road ahead of them next year, so I would assume they will be in the playoffs next year as well. But I'm expecting this game to be a big, high scoring affair. Both of these offensives have showcased their firepower throughout the season. I think Ohio State will adjust their ground game as well to exploit Oregon's weakness on the defense. So I think this is going to be a good game for Ohio State. Sometimes it's good to play. I understand that Oregon did get that bye week, but Ohio State had a crushing loss to Michigan, their rivals. You never want to lose to your rival. Sometimes beating your rival is better than winning the national championship, says me. But I think that Ohio State having the opportunity to play in that first round against Tennessee, I think that showed them that, okay, yes, we messed up in that Michigan game. We wanted to win in the trenches. We wanted to win with our run game. And that just wasn't how you were going to beat Michigan this year. So going in there and beating Tennessee, putting their best foot forward in how they did their offensive scheme, I think gives them a lot of confidence moving into this matchup against Oregon. And so because of that experience that they've now had in the playoffs, in these 12-team playoffs this year, I will be picking Ohio State to win this game. But I do think it is so hard to beat a team twice. I know Georgia was able to do it against Texas. But again, that was a much closer game that time, and Texas did almost win that game. So I think Ohio State losing by 1 point that first time might have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And I think Ohio State can really pull one out here and advance to the semifinals of the playoffs.
I think that Ohio State is one playing for the title of, hey, we're better than you in the Big Ten. You can't just come in here and think you run it. Kind of like, people are feeling about Texas, like, oh, you can't just come into the SEC and think you run it. It's going to be the same thing up there, I'm assuming. So, I definitely think go, even the computers are siding with Ohio State. So I think they have a great chance to win, but I do hope Oregon wins.
I do like Dan Lanning more than Ryan Day here. I think he is the better coach. He did exploit that 12 men on the field loophole early this year. I thought it was pretty smart. um,
Yeah.
that has since now gone away, but like good for him. So as a coach, I think Dan Lanning is stronger. But I think Ryan Day could really prove something here, especially after losing to Michigan, which is not looking really good for him. But that dominating win over Tennessee, I really think that Ohio State has found themselves again after that devastating loss to their rival. And I think they're going to go far in the playoffs. So we're going to see who's right, Georgia or I. Georgia's picking Oregon. I'm picking Ohio State. Who are you picking? Let us know in the comments. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And we will see you next time.